What's up guys, Fire here, and today I'm going to be releasing my patch 4.4 tier list on Reign of Gaming. Now this is my introduction video for the article, and I'm going to be telling you kind of what the tier explanations are, just so you can kind of get an understanding for the tier list. And then I'm also going to be going through the pick or ban champions that I think are the best right now, and why I think they're so good. If you want to read the tier list, then the link will be down in the description below, and it'd be great if you go and check that out and support me over there. If not, then just obviously watch this video for the kind of pick or ban champions that are in the meta right now. Okay, so article first then, obviously bring it up on your screen now. There are three tiers, so there are pick or ban, there's the strong tier and the underrated tier. Now pick or ban, obviously, funny enough, are champions that you should look to pick or ban. These are the strongest champions in that lane, and these are the ones that excel at that role more than every other champion. There are obviously going to be other strong champions which will fit into the strong tier, but the pick or ban champions are just a kind of level above those, so they don't take as much skill to play and to win with, which is why they're good for picking up right now and winning games. Now the underrated tier is something I introduced this tier list because a lot of people said that they wanted something a bit different, not just what's in the meta. So these are champions that I think could make a comeback this patch and still be really strong. They'll be champions that probably require more practice and skill to actually play than the current meta champions, but once you unlock their potential, they can easily carry just as hard as the others. So for the mid lane, we have Ziggs, Yasuo and Lulu as the pick or ban tier champions, and the interesting thing here is that all pick or ban for completely different reasons. Now Ziggs is really strong because it's kind of a League of late game right now. It's kind of changed to the objective side, so towers, dragons, things like that. Now Ziggs brings a lot of wave clear to the team, so it means that it's really difficult to push towers against the Ziggs, and it means that Ziggs can stall out the game and let the rest of your team catch up if they're behind. Now when fights do eventually break out, he has his AoE nuke, AoE persistent damage with his Q, and even zone control with his minefield and satchel charge. Now Yasuo is always banned right now, and it's basically because even if you camp him and you shut him down, he'll still do a ton of damage with his static shiv and infinity edge. Having a champion that has such a huge impact in a team fight, like Yasuo with his ultimate that can turn a fight around, and only needing 2 items to do that huge amount of damage is kind of silly, and that's why he's banned at the moment. So finally, Lulu is the complete package for your team. She has really good damage, she has really good utility, and there's not really any reason why you wouldn't want to pick Lulu. The biggest thing here is that her base damages are so high, so she's strong early, but her abilities scale with AP so well that she does even more damage with them, and also her shields and everything like that, they scale with ability power too, so they get stronger as the game goes on. Now moving on to the AD carries, we have Sivir and Lucian as pick or ban this time round, and not Jinx. Now the reason Jinx isn't pick or ban is basically just because she can be shut down so well by the current meta junglers like Wukong, Pantheon and Kha'Zix. Now these three have really easy ways of ganking bot lane, and Jinx having no escape means that she's really vulnerable to getting camped and basically just being shut down. Now Lucian is here because he has so much damage. He's really good at controlling the lane, and he's also really good in teamfights because his culling can do a lot of single target damage if a diver jumps onto you. Now Sivir isn't really here for her damage as such, but more her overall utility. So she brings a lot to the team. She can help you engage, she can catch people out, which is great, but she's also probably the safest AD with that ultimate to escape and her spell shield as well. And when you combine that with the AoE damage that she brings from her W and a Q in a team fight, she actually is really strong right now, which is why I think she's probably the best AD. So moving on to junglers, the first thing I want to say is that there are a lot of different strong junglers right now, like Wukong, Pantheon, Lee Sin, Evelynn, to name a few, but they all just excel in different areas, and many of them are banned in games because they can have such a huge impact, but the only one I think is above the rest is going to be Kha'Zix. Now the change to his ultimate in patch 4.3 meant that when you evolve his ultimate, you now increase the stealth duration for 2 seconds, which is actually really pretty big. But evolving his ultimate does a couple of other things, so it scales the damage reduction of 50% with health and shields. So that means that during that damage reduction, health from a giant's belt is doubled, shield from a hex drinker is doubled as well, and that's one of the reasons why now he does a ton of damage, but it's very difficult to kill him as well. When you combine those new things with the old things of his resets and his damage to isolated targets and his snowball potential, you have a really good, well-rounded jungler who is probably going to dominate solo queue for a while. Okay, so moving on to top laners. Now, Renekton is the only pick or ban champion that I've put on this list. The reason he's the only one who's pick or ban is because I think he can go into any matchup and he can come out on top. Now there are a lot of strong top laners like Trundle, Shyvana, Jax right now, but Renekton is just a cut above the rest. The reason he's above the others is basically because of his sustain. Now he doesn't out trade everyone in the game, but what he does do is probably lose the trade slightly but sustain up so quickly that he gets control of the lane. If you do choose to stay in lane after the trade, then he'll sustain quicker than you and he'll trade again, and then he'll sustain again and trade again until he wins the lane. And if you do base to get full health, then he's going to push you into turret, you'll lose experience and CS, and that's just going to get you behind. And finally for the supports, we have Thresh and Morgana as the pick or ban tier. Now Thresh is always going to be at the top of the support pool, basically just because of his kit. He has good poke with his E, a knockback, an AoE slow, a hook, a shield, and obviously the unique mechanic of his lantern. Now when you put all of these high impact spells into one kit, it means that even if you reduce his damage, even if you make him squishier, he's still going to be in the meta. Now I really want to compare this to Kassadin, how he was before the nerf, because Kassadin was just such a well-rounded mid laner that he was always going to be in the meta, and that's why they changed him. Now Thresh is pretty much the same story. He has everything a support could want, so if you roll all of that together, then he's obviously going to be at the top of the support pool, no matter if you nerf his damage or nerf how tanky he is. So next up we have Morgana, and she's kind of come into the meta for two reasons. Now the first was the change to Spell Thief's Edge in patch 4.3, which grants gold when spells hit an enemy now. So all she has to do to proc that is put the soil onto an enemy, and every time the soil does damage, it gives you a stack of that Spell Thief, so it gives you some gold. Not only is this a really good way of getting ahead, but when you get the active, which you can viably rush as well, it makes hitting your Q very easy or chasing someone to ultimate them even easier. Now the other thing is the Black Shield, and it's kind of a counter to Leona and Thresh and even Annie to some degree I guess as well. Supports with CC have become really popular, and Morgana's Black Shield negates all of that, so she just gets a natural advantage basically just from having her kit against these other laners. The final reason why I think Morgana is so popular is if you think about the meta junglers. So Wukong, Pantheon and Vi all have these hard crowd control abilities which the Black Shield completely negates. If Vi jumps in on a target with Black Shield, they just walk away, and suddenly Vi is in the middle of an entire team and she hasn't even crowd controlled her target. So that wraps up the pick or ban champions for patch 4.4, and I'm also going to do a video on the underrated champions on this list as well to kind of explain my thought process there. Now please go check out the tier list on Reign of Gaming, and thank you to Stonewall for letting me put my article up there. And if you have any feedback, please leave them in the comments here or on Reign of Gaming and I'll be sure to check them out. That's all for this time though, so I'll catch you in my next video.